car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Yes, indeed. I am pleased to say that we have the owner of that fine establishment here in this studio, ready, willing, and certainly more than able to take in inquiries from you. Perhaps you'd like to get a price on a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. Well, he can handle it. You dial us at 478-3116, 478-3116, while we will be talking with Iven Streckel. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don. Thanks so much for the great introduction. And this is the Frontier Motor Show, and it's a double format today. We are on the radio. WCOA AM radio is broadcasting this live right now. And if you're listening to this on AM radio, you can join us if you want a value on your car by dialing 478-3116. That's 478-3116. If you're watching this on TV, for our cable subscribers right now that are watching this, this is the Frontier Motor Show. If you've never seen us before, what we do for the next half hour is we give values on cars for customers, and we talk a little bit about the car business, what's going on, what's new, what's improved, a little bit about Frontier Motors. We try not to make this just a Frontier Motor Show because we want to talk to the people in the Pensacola area, letting them know that Frontier Motors is the home to go to if you have any questions as far as what you should pay for a particular car. And if you're thinking of buying a car on Craigslist or eBay or AutoTrader or Cars.com, or maybe it's your neighbor that has a car, maybe you see one on the side of the road, maybe it's the competition, maybe it's one of our local used car dealerships that are selling a car, maybe it's a new car dealership that's selling a used car, and you're interested in that particular car. The reason you want to stop in at Frontier Motors is to get a value on that car that you're looking at. One of the things that we can help you with is we have the ability to run a Carfax on any car without charging you. If you find a car on Craigslist, for example, and you get the ID number, it costs you about $35 to run a Carfax on it. They also have AutoCheck, which is a little less expensive. I think AutoCheck, last time I checked, was about $29 to run a history report, and that's on one car. Well, let's say you're looking at 10 different cars, it gets quite expensive. So the way that we can help you out at Frontier Motors is we subscribe to Carfax and AutoCheck, which is our history reports, and we can do the history reports at no charge for you because we pay one flat fee, and we can run as many as we want. So if you do find a car out there and the dealership doesn't provide a Carfax for you or doesn't have doesn't want to pay for it, don't go pay for it. Go ahead and just give us a call at the dealership phone number, which should be on the bottom of your screen, but it's 436-8080. That's Frontier Motors. It's 436-8080. And we can go ahead and run that for you. If you want to call the show here, if you got your ID number with you, I can actually run a history report right from the show, and you can give us a call at 478-3116. That's 478-3116. We can not only do the history report for you if you have the ID number handy, we can also do the book values for you. Now, when we talk about book values, I want to get into that just a little bit because you really don't need me to get a book value on a car. Because if you just Google used car values on the internet, you're going to find the Edmunds, the Kelly Blue Book, and you're going to find a consumer's version of the NEDA. What we use at Frontier Motors is a little bit different. This is mostly what car dealerships use when they put a value on a car. Is the one thing they'll use is they'll use a black guidebook. You can't get this on the internet. Now, you can get a version of this, but you can't get the black wholesale guidebook. You got to be a car dealership or a bank to be able to get this. And this gives you an idea of what's currently going on at the auctions. Now, these books are becoming a little bit obsolete because with the invent of the smartphones, this is now transferred to the smartphone. So I very rarely actually, as a matter of fact, the reason I subscribe to the book to bring it to the radio show here so that when we are tape recording this for our cable subscribers, they can actually see there is such a thing as a black guidebook. We have it online right now, so I normally don't need it. And the cool thing about the smartphones these days, we have an app on here that's called the Manheim application. And Manheim is the largest auction chains, and they have their own application with the black book. So I can scan the ID number. I'm not sure if most people know this, but every car comes with a barcode, just like when you go in a grocery store, everything's got a barcode. Every car has a barcode. It's usually in the door or it's right next to the ID number on the windshield. And what I do is I hold my phone up and I scan it. And what it does is it pops out the AutoCheck. It pops out the Carfax. It gives me the black wholesale guidebook. And it also gives me an important figure from the NEDA book. And this NEDA book looks like the same one you can buy at the public library or get online. Unfortunately, it's not. This is an official guidebook. And the reason this book is very important because this is the book that the bankers and the credit unions in our area use. And most of the insurance companies, I don't want to say every insurance company, but we've been able to help a lot of customers get the proper dollar amount through their insurance company by having these books available. An insurance company sometimes is going to deviate from the book a little bit because they want to give you examples of a particular car, which might be quite a bit lower than the NADA guide. Now, the NADA guide is also real important, folks, because this is what you can borrow from your bank or credit union. So let's just say, hypothetically, I've got a car that's got an NADA book of $10,000, and you want to finance 100%. Let's say you have no money down. If the book is $10,000, and let's say I'm selling it for $10,000, it's not any less than book, but it's not any more than book. The problem that you have is you got to pay the taxes, the doc fee, the title, and the tag transfer or buy a tag. Those fees alone on a $10,000 car could be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400, depending if you need a new tag or if you're transferring a tag. So indirectly, the book is very important because if the book's $10,000 and you're trying to borrow $11,400, it's not going to happen. You're going to need to come up with $1,400 to get this done. That's why these books are very important. And I do use both books when I buy a car. The other book that I use, which is not really a book, it's on the computer, I use the Manheim Market Report. And I'm in it right now, and while I'm talking to you, I'm going to go ahead and we'll just pull up an example. And the Manheim Market Report is what Manheim does is they have about 100 auctions worldwide, and they compile all of their sales at those auctions into a format called the Market Report. And this gives me up-to-date information on what a particular car is selling for. And I happen to be starting out with BMW, and I'm just going to plug in a Z series. The Z Roadster is one of those little 3-liter convertible jobbies. Excellent car. It's a hardtop convertible these days. It's a pretty expensive car. And it tells me, by looking at the Market Report, that 7 have sold in the last 30 days. And the spread between the low and the high is pretty large. There was one in Atlanta that sold with 5,000 miles for $25,500. And there was one in Riverside, California that sold for $36,000. So there's an $11,000 spread. And that brings up a big question. Why is there such a big spread? Why should there be an 11? These are all 2011 Z4 3-liters. Well, the reason there's a big spread is the one for $25,500 was below average condition. Even though it had 5,000 miles on it, maybe it was in an accident. Maybe it had been keyed down the side of the car and repainted, and the paint didn't match. Maybe it was just a base model stick shift with no navigation and maybe no power seat and vinyl interior versus the one for $36,000, which had the real leather interior. It had the navigation system, backup camera, and all the features you can put on a car. And I don't know if a lot of people know this because I see this happening all the time when they go to, for example, they go to Auto Trader and they're looking at a particular car and they always concentrate on the least expensive ones. But some people don't know that when you look at the guidebooks, which is the new car cost guides, which I have right here, the new car cost guides list the groups of options that you can purchase on a particular car. And the amount of money that you can add on to even something as expensive as a BMW Z4 would make your head spin. You can put $15,000 worth of options on this car. So when there's an $11,000 spread, that could be based on options alone, from a base model with nothing on it to the most loaded one with every feature on it. And of course, when you buy it used, you don't pay retail for everything. For example, if navigation is $2,500, if the car is 1 year old, the ad for navigation is $800. It's usually about a third of what the options cost, and therefore sometimes you can get a pretty good deal on a 1 year old used car with every feature, which would be the same price as a brand new car with no features. And a lot of people would rather buy a car with 5,000 miles on it and buy one with all the features on it. I think I would. I think if I had the opportunity to buy a car with no miles on it and it was stripped out with nothing on it, and the same model car in the same color, same transmission, everything, but with every loaded option on it, including heated seats, cooled seats, backup camera, all the things that I like on a car, maybe the XM radio. Some of the new cars have side monitoring systems for when cars are passing you. It'll tell you there's a car in the blind spot detection. The parking assist, some of the cars actually park themselves. Heck, that feature alone is $3,000. It doesn't even add for it in the NADA value book. So those things you can get for nothing on on a used car. And a lot of times that it makes the difference between the price of one car or the other. But that's one of the things that we help you with at Frontier Motors. And we're trying to get the word out there to everybody. And when I say try, we actually have been pretty successful doing it. We've been doing this show for going on 16 years right now at the WCOA radio, and really has put us on the map. I know a lot of people out there, and maybe a lot of people watching this on TV don't even listen to talk radio, but you can get a lot of information. And I know on WCOA, for example, they have Ask the Experts, which includes the attorney hour, includes the investment people, and I listen to it because you learn something. To me, it's a little bit more exciting than just listening to music. But we have been doing this radio show going on 16 years, and it's really put us on the map because so many people that listen to the show say, well, I don't need those guys right now. They either change the channel or they turn it off. But there's so many people that are interested in what's going on with the car business because just about everybody out there is driving a car. So there's a little bit of interest in the car business, and sometimes we get, we talk about what's new in the car business. I bring my automotive news with me, and I see that, there's always headlines right there of what's new and approved. And right now I've turned to the page that talks about electric vehicles, and people always ask me what's going on with electric vehicles or hybrids. Are they cars right now that are going up in value, going down in value? And folks, right now, the electric vehicles and the hybrids, they're going down in value. And the reason is because with the price of gas, somebody told me the other day they saw a gas station in Pensacola that was down to $2.99. Now, that sounds like a bargain. And it's not a bargain compared to years ago when it was $1, but compared to $4, that's a bargain. Hey, Don, do we have a call?
We do. This is Dee on the line with us. She'd like to talk to you.
Hey, Dee, this is Ivan. How can I help you?
Well, I just was calling to give you a compliment.
Oh, good.
You and your salesperson, Corey, we purchased the car from you this summer, a Buick, and it was the negotiations were just very pleasant. We enjoyed meeting you and talking with you. And a couple of weeks after we bought the car, we experienced some problems. Your company took care of them with no questions asked. We appreciate that. And everybody I tell them, if you're going to buy a car, go to Frontier Motors.
Well, Dee, I really do appreciate you taking the time and dialing into us. That's very nice and a very good compliment. And hopefully you'll have a good Christmas. Thank you so much for the compliment.
The same to you.
All right, thanks for calling. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in, and we don't get into enough really, what makes us different, other than the fact that we help people buy cars, whether that's be at our dealership or not, is that I really don't like negotiating. I used to run a new car dealership, and when I wasn't the owner of the dealership, there were certain things that you had to do and some of the things that they taught us as salespeople and managers was ask the customer, well, how much do you want to pay? What do you want for your car? What I consider pretty stupid questions. How much do you want to pay per month? These are things that I feel that as a professional car dealer, you should tell the customer what the product you're selling is going to cost. And if they want to know how much it's going to cost on a monthly basis or how much it's going to cost on a discounted price. And then the other question, of course, that always comes up as well, okay, that sounds like a pretty fair price on your car, but now I want to know what you'll give me for my car. And there's always that, well, what do you want for it and things like that. We really don't play that game at Frontier Motors. And I think that's why people like Dee like coming in, because we make it real simple. We're going to get your car appraised for you. It's going to take maybe 10 minutes. This is not a long, drawn-out affair. The reason it gets a long, drawn-out is because you don't know what you want to buy. Because I do have people coming into the dealership that spend 3 hours there, 4 hours. But it's not because of the negotiating process. It's because they're not sure which one they want. When you come on the lot right now, I've got my new price sheet with me. We have 309 vehicles on the lot. We actually have about 315 because some of the ones that I purchased aren't on the lot yet. With 315 cars on the lot, the biggest issue that you have is when you come to Frontier Motors and you're not sure what you want to buy is that it takes time to test drive every model. And the nice thing about coming to Frontier Motors is it's almost like going to an auto show because we have every make and model. And for example, if you're not sure if you want a BMW, well, you're going to have to go to the BMW dealership. When you're done with a BMW, let's say you're looking at an X5, which is their mid-size sport utility, a beautiful vehicle. But let's say you're not sure if that's the one you want, and you go across the street and you go, or right next door, I should say, and you go to the Cadillac dealership, and you're looking at a Cadillac SRX. They're similar vehicles. And boy, you drive them both and you like them both. You're really not sure. They're both about the same price. And you say, well, before I make a decision, I also want to drive the Lexus. And the Lexus, that's an RX 350. Well, now you got to go over, you jump in your car, you got to go to Mobile. That's where the nearest Lexus dealership is. You go and you drive their RX 350. You like it, and you notice that across the street there's an Infiniti dealership. I think it's Joe Bullard, one of those guys who's got Infiniti, and they have what's called an FX 35 and an FX 45, which would be similar to all these cars. So you take that for a test drive, and then you think, well, I forgot to drive that Lincoln MKX, which is also the sport utility you put up against all the other ones. So now you got to go back to Pensacola. You go to the Lincoln Mercury dealership, or Lincoln dealership now. Mercury's out of business. And you drive the MKX, and then you look at the Ford store across the street, and they have a Ford Edge over there. Well, that's just like an MKX. They're both owned by Ford, but it's a little less expensive, so you drive that one. This all takes time, folks. It takes time and money because you've got to pay for gasoline, and everybody says time is money. So if it takes up your time, you've got to meet salespeople and managers at every one of these dealerships. Most of them won't let you take a test drive unless they have your information, a phone number, or contact information, which we do also at Frontier Motors. Now you have all these people trying to sell you a car, and that's where the process slows you down a little bit, and you don't want all these salespeople calling you. You've already eliminated probably half those cars out there, so you're not interested, but you don't want to hurt their feelings, and now it all starts. You can come to Frontier Motors, folks, and all these vehicles I described, we've got them lined up there. We have the X5, we have the MKX, we have the SRX, we've got the Ford Edge, we've got them all lined up. So you stop in, you meet one of our salespeople. All of the vehicles are unlocked. So if the seating position is important for you, you don't have to get the salesman running back and forth to get a key, because you can sit in every car, and you'll know usually by sitting in the car and the height and seat adjustment, especially if you're short. If you're a female and you're short, let's say you're 5 feet tall, some of these vehicles aren't going to work for you. Maybe the seat doesn't come up high enough. Maybe it doesn't go close enough. So you can eliminate a car just like that. But isn't it nice to go to one dealership and be able to eliminate those cars rather than going to all those different dealerships? And let's say you do trip across the one that you want. Let's say you decide you want the MKX, the Lincoln version of it, and you've got a Honda Civic you're driving. Well, you toss us the keys, give us a little bit of information on the car, and we'll go and appraise it for you. And then we get a worksheet out, and we're going to tell you, here's our list price of our car. Here's what we can discount it, bottom line discount, no negotiating necessary. Here's what we're appraising your vehicle for wholesale. Here's the bottom line. We're going to add the taxes, the dock fee, the tag transfer, and the title and the registration, and we're going to circle that bottom line for you, and we're going to say, here is what it costs to buy this car. Now, some people, if they bought a car from us before, like Dee, or if you have heard us and listened to us on the radio, there's not any negotiating necessary. We're going to give you a good price right off the bat because most people, I would say probably 60 to 70% of the people, don't buy the first time in. They either want to do more research on the internet or they want to go to the next dealership to see if I'm getting a good deal. And I never know which one of those you are. So we make sure that we give you the best price right off the bat. The only negotiating can be done if you've got a really nice trade-in. Sometimes the trade value is an opinion. And if I put a $15,000 trade value on a car and I've got to go another $400 or $500 to put a deal together, I can make that decision right then and there. The nice thing about Frontier Motors is we don't get our cars appraised from somebody else unless it's a beater. Let's say it's a car I don't want. It's got 200,000 miles on it. I don't appraise those cars. We have people that buy those cars from us, so I might make a call on a car like that. But let's say it's a car that we're going to keep on the lot. At a normal car dealership, when you drive into the new car dealership, and we're going to use Infinity as an example because they're not here and maybe they're not listening to the show. I know they can listen to it online, but I'm assuming they're not. So you pull into the Infinity dealership, you test drive their car, and you like it. You toss them the keys for the car. The first thing they're going to ask you, well, how much do you want for your car? Well, you don't want to tell them how much you want for it. You want them to appraise the car. And a lot of times the appraiser is at a separate building in the used car department. His job as an appraiser and a used car manager is to appraise your car for as low as possible and still make a deal so you buy the new car. So they're going to hit the car really low, and now the games begin. Now back and forth. The new car manager is trying to sell you a new car, the new Infinity. The used car manager is going to try to take your car in as cheap as possible. And now they're doing some infighting. People always wonder, well, how come it takes so long to appraise the car? Is because they're in the back room talking to each other about the appraisal. One guy says $10,000. The other guy says, I know this car is worth $12,000. They're sitting there back and forth for 15 minutes to finally settle on a figure of $11,000. And then they come out and tell you $11,000, and you tell them, well, Frontier Motors already appraised my car for $13,000. I could have told you that. I didn't want to tell you that at first in case they give you more money. But that's where we come in to help you folks. And it's such a pain in the butt sometimes because at Frontier Motors, it's not, because we do the appraising and the selling. The same person does it. We have 4 people that make the decisions at Frontier Motors. They make the appraisal decision and the selling. So there's no back and forth. And that's why when dealerships talk about, well, we can make it real simple for you, they can if there's not a trade involved. If you're buying a new car and the list price is $30,000 and the cost is $27,000, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out they got to make a little bit of money, and maybe they'll tell you, well, I'll sell to you for $28,500 in the middle somewhere. They settle on $28,000, they make $1,000, you get a good deal, and they can do that in 10 minutes. The problem is with the trade-in. And something else that you might not know is that a lot of dealerships, even though they tell you, the books all tell you don't negatize the customer on their trade-in because you don't want to get the feeling that they don't want your car, they won't tell you they don't want your car. But a lot of dealerships don't want your car. And if they don't want your car, they call somebody else for the appraisal. That's called a middleman. They call that a broker or wholesaler. The wholesaler's job also is to take the vehicle in cheap and sell it to another dealership and make a profit, or sell at the auction and make a profit. Well, the only way they can make a profit on the car is to hit the car lower than its real value. And the reason they're doing that is because the dealership is calling them for a figure. It's interesting how many times a day I get calls from other dealerships appraising cars for those dealerships. And the reason I do that is because the manager doesn't want the car. So he tells the salesman, go ahead and call Frontier. They'll buy anything. And we will. And the reason we buy anything is because we sell everything. If you're a Infiniti dealership and you're driving a 1-ton diesel dually, how excited do you think that Infiniti dealership is going to be to take your diesel dually and trade? They're not going to be very excited at all. What they're going to do is they're going to call a wholesaler or they're going to call Frontier Motors. Well, guess what? We have a really good diesel business, more so than even the Ford dealership. And one reason the Ford dealership, you think the first thing they would do is call the Ford dealership on that diesel dually. Well, they don't, because they know from experience that the Ford dealership doesn't give them a good figure. And the reason is because they got them there. They're selling brand new diesels, and guess what they do? They take a bunch of them and trade. And if they have 15 of them lined up, similar to the vehicle you're trading, they're going to do the same thing the wholesaler does. They're going to hit that vehicle really low because they're not excited about getting one in trade unless they can steal it. And that's where you'll get a low appraisal. The other dealerships that give you a low appraisal, folks, and you might not know this, is the dealerships that can't afford your car. It might be hard to believe that when the dealership that has a $2 million building and maybe a $5 million new car inventory can't afford a $15,000 trade-in. A lot of them can't. And the reason is because if they have a certain dollar amount that they have to stay within, let's say that they have a $1 million used car inventory, but they're already over the $1 million gap, and now you bring them a $20,000 trade-in, they can't afford it. It's not they don't want to sell you a car. They can't afford the car. They're out of money. So they call a wholesaler again, and the wholesaler gives them a low value. And this is one of the things that you'll see won't happen at Frontier Motors because we do it all right there. We can do it, make it easy. We can actually make it fun. We have fun when we sell a car because we don't have all of that back and forth. There's no back room at Frontier Motors. I sit right in the middle of the dealership. My partner Ron sits right in the middle of the dealership. We've got salesmen on all sides of us. There's no windows or walls. Everything's open. And the reason we have it like that is we want to make sure that we talk about what we talk about here on the TV and radio show is actually what's happening at the dealership. That we can eavesdrop on the conversations that the customers are having with the salespeople to make sure that the salespeople are doing what we're talking about, that we don't ask the stupid questions, that we give you the price right off the bat, and that we do everything properly to make it easy for you when you come in the dealership, that we don't ask the questions, well, what if I did this? Would you buy it right now? When are you going to buy a car? Are you going to buy one today? We don't care when you're going to buy one. Obviously, we would like to sell you one today. But if you tell us you're looking for the future, and I've got customers coming and says, I'm not going to buy for 6 months, we'll still pay attention to your needs and wants right now. Because what happens a lot of times, those people that say we're not going to buy today, we can maybe accelerate their purchase, maybe not today, but maybe within the next month. Because we show them a vehicle that's a bargain where they say, wow, I didn't know it was that inexpensive. Or maybe they're a payment buyer and they think, well, I've got to save another $2,000 cash down to get the payments in my budget. And we show them by going maybe an extra 6 months, they can afford the car right now. And they don't have to put any more money in their beater that they're driving. And that's what makes a difference right there. And when we talk about beaters, you know, one of the things that when I listen to the Dave Ramsey show, he's one of my gurus that I like to listen to because he talks about buying a used car and not a new car. And he actually does a testimonial for Frontier Motors. And one of the things that he talks about is buying the used car and take somebody else's depreciation. Let me let you take a quick listen real quick.
Hey, Dave Ramsey here. Congratulations, you did it. You beat debt. Not only that, but you saved some money, and now you can afford to get a newer, more reliable pre-owned vehicle and get rid of that old beater you've been driving. Go see my friends at Frontier Motors. Get yourself a quality pre-owned vehicle and let someone else take that huge depreciation driving a new car off the lot. You can save thousands of dollars on a pre-owned vehicle with very low miles. Frontier specializes in the alternative to new. They have over 300 cars in stock of all makes and models. I like recommending Frontier Motors, not just because of their cars, but they're just really nice people to deal with. They make sure that the car buying experience doesn't have to stress you out. So go see them and have fun buying that newer, pre-owned vehicle from Frontier Motors. And don't forget to tell them Dave Ramsey sent you. Frontier Motors, Beverly Parkway. Just look for the Buffalo out front.
And one of the things that we talk about is making it fun to buy a car. It seems to me that a lot of customers that come in tell me that the reason they don't buy cars more often is not because they can't afford it, but because they don't like the process. It's not fun for them. It's stressful. And one of the things that I try to do at Frontier Motors is take the stress out of it by us giving you the information. And I'll sit down with you, my partner Ron, or one of our sales managers will sit down with you, and we'll show you when we give you a figure, how we come up with the figure. And a lot of people have gone online already, and they have an idea of what their car is worth because they've seen it on Craigslist, it on Auto Trader, or they've Googled Edmunds or the Kelly Blue Book. And let's say that my price is different from your price. What we're going to do is we're going to sit down and explain to you why, that we're not just trying to steal your trade-in, because if you got a nice car, we're going to keep the car. We want the trade-in. We never talk a customer into selling the car themselves unless it's a $100 beater and they think they can get $1,000 for it. That's the only time that would be the exception. There's a really good reason to trade the car in because, for example, folks, and a lot of people don't know this, if you have a $20,000 car, and let's say you're driving a pickup truck and you want to trade in for a Prius. I know that's an extreme example, but let's say your truck is worth $20,000 and I've got a Prius that's worth $20,000. Let's say we toss keys. You don't have to pay any taxes. If you sell your truck yourself for $21,500 and you buy the Prius, you got $1,500 in taxes you have to pay. Even though you sold your truck for $1,500 more, it's not worth it. You're better off trading it in. And that's why a lot of times I can sit down with customers that say, well, you know, I think my car's worth $15,000 and you only give me $14,000 for it. And I tell them, well, with the tax advantage and the ease of doing business, you might want to consider that. I'm not disagreeing that you won't get a little bit more if you retail your car. I'm going to do the same thing. If I think your car's worth $10,000 wholesale, I'm going to try to sell it for $11,000 or $12,000 because that's what I do. I'm going to make a profit. The difference between Frontier Motors is we're not obnoxious about the profit, and some dealerships are. And they hit you at a ridiculously high price on the car they're buying and a ridiculously low price on what you're trading in. And sometimes you get so discouraged that that's where it makes it not fun anymore. And at Frontier Motors, what we do is we give you that price right off the bat. Enough about Frontier Motors. We wanted to let you know that if you've got a car and you want to sell it, well, I guess it's still about Frontier Motors because you got to bring it to Frontier Motors. Don't put it on Craigslist. I read an article the other day. It just happened down here. It was in a news journal on somebody selling an ATV, and they met some people that ended up shooting them and stealing the ATVs. I know it's extreme, but I get a little bit nervous about people coming over to the house. And that's where we come in, folks. Bring us that car you're going to sell, and you'll be surprised sometimes how easy it can be for me to give you a figure, and you'll be surprised that sometimes that figure is not that much less than what you're selling it for right now. The advantage is I can write you a check and you're done with it. So that's one of the things that we can offer the people in the Pensacola area. With 309 vehicles, actually 315 vehicles available, we got something for everybody. We've only got a couple of minutes left, so we want to talk about our website a little bit. That if you want to see what we have and a little bit about Frontier Motors, go to our website. Just Google Frontier Motors. We're the first one that comes up. We'll have 300 some cars inventory, about 30 detailed photographs. 70% of them have prices. The ones that don't, you just type it in. The reason they don't have prices is because they just came in. We're selling about 50 cars a week, folks, so about 200 cars a month, which means that I've got 50 new ones every week that I'm buying. And because of that, I can't get the prices in fast enough on some of those cars. Once they're set up and ready to go, we put the prices in. So if there's not a price in there, just give us a shout. Give us a call at 436-8080 or just email us. And we want to let you know that we make it really easy for you to make a buying decision at Frontier Motors. We actually encourage that you shop because how do you know if you're getting a good deal unless you go somewhere else? So we're the ones that will give it to you in writing. If another dealership won't put in writing, my suggestion is they're hiding something. Just walk out and hopefully come over to Frontier Motors. We'll put it in writing for you so you can take that figure if you want to any other dealership and see if they'll beat it. We've been very successful in making sure we beat our competition. That's why we're the #1 independent dealership in the whole state of Florida. We sell more cars than any independent dealership. And it really puts a feather in our cap, which means we're doing some things right. Again, that's Frontier Motors, 436-8080. Everybody, including you, is driving a used car. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.